Hello again. Now, the Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General William Ejapon, has shed light on the challenging circumstances surrounding the transportation of remains from the helicopter crash in Adansi. He says, contrary to speculation, body bags were indeed available at the scene, but the extreme heat of the remains rendered them unsuitable for use.
Now, instead, cocoa sacks were utilized to convey the remains, sparking controversy over the dignity of the victims. Now, speaking to journalists here in Accra, the Chief of Defense Staff explained that the intense heat of the remains made traditional body bags impractical, leading to the unconventional use of the cocoa sacks.
With the available and appropriate material we have on the ground, we had some body bags at the scene, but the remains were so heated that it was not conducive for the bags to be used. It was in a thick forest. It was getting late. We had the option of leaving our remains there to the following day, and we know what could have happened to the bodies. So the team that was up there assessing the situation decided to use available material they could lay hands on to start to descend the high ground. At the foot of the hill, they met the medical team, and with the body bags that they had, some of which have been also sent from Anglo Gold Ashanti, they kept our fallen heroes in those bags decently.
Well, so we can now get more on this and speak to a senior lecturer at the Forensic Sciences, University of Cape Coast, Dr. Richmond Afuakwa. Now, he's joined us via Zoom. Good evening and thank you for your time on Newsnight.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
We've heard the Chief of Defense Staff explaining that, of course, the intense heat of the remains made traditional body bags impractical. That led to the unconventional use of cocoa sacks. And we also have experts telling us that irrespective of the heat, PVC-coated nylon or double seal or heat-sealed closures could have been used to convey the remains. I just want to find out, from where you sit, what do you make of these two views?
Yes, good evening once again. There are two sides to this whole discussion. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Dr. Afuakwa.
Okay. So there are two sides to this whole discussion, and I hope we can have enough time to discuss both sides. So there are different kinds of body bags used to convey victims of accidents, fire scenes, homicides, the different kinds of body bags. For this particular accident, what was needed was the kind of body bag that was heat resistant, that was leak proof, and that had an interior support system to carry the mortal remains of the victims. So these are the three characteristics that the body bag should have had. As the CDS said, they had standard body bags at the scene, which standard body bags practically wouldn't be suitable for carrying bodies from such a scene. So yeah, like I've always been saying, we didn't prepare for this disaster, so I'm not sure that they had the appropriate body bag to be able to carry the bodies from the accident scene. That said, he also made a point that they had a choice. It was getting late, and they had a choice to leave the bodies there and come for them the following morning. That would have been the standard practice. Allow me to say this. For every accident scene or for every fire scene, if there is still fire or there is heat at the scene, that scene is declared a hazardous scene, and it is not a scene that forensic experts or investigators should actually enter. So let me make that point very clear. If there was still heat at the scene, the investigators or the experts should have waited for the scene to cool down. At the scene. And if there was still heat there, then it wasn't a scene for them to enter. But he made a point that, and they made a tactical decision. We all know that side of the country, Galamsey, is very rampant there, and the presence of the military could possibly start something different. If the military were going to be in the forest for that period of time overnight, guarding the scene, guarding the bodies, they could have sparked something different. So the military intelligence, together with the practicality of the situation, they decided to move the bodies that evening, and they improvised. Really, the cocoa sacks were not the appropriate tools to have used to cut the bodies, but they improvised. I mean, we improvise at the accident scene and crime scene every day. So that was the improvise they made. We have lashed them. It wasn't the appropriate material to use to cut the bodies, but they did that. And the lesson we learned from here is that going forward, we should be prepared for such disasters.
Of course, with what the Chief of Defense Staff has said, and also what you have stated here on the show, this should put an end to the debate on whether or not, body bags were used there or not.
Yes, of course, he says that there were body bags available. Suitability of the body bags is another debate. Preparedness for such a situation is also another debate. The availability of persons with knowledge in the use of appropriate body bags is also another debate. But I think what Ghanaians have been looking for is whether there were body bags there or not. And he has put that matter to rest. They actually had body bags, but he says that the bodies were too hot for the nylon body bags to carry them. And like I have said, if the bodies were too hot, they should have allowed the bodies to cool before carrying them. There should have been the appropriate body bags available to carry the mortal remains of these heroes. But then this brings the matter to rest. There were body bags available, albeit not the appropriate ones, but they were available. And they improvised. And the reason for that tactical decision to carry the bodies from the site at that time, I mean, the military is the only group that can tell us, and we cannot lash them on that because it was a tactical decision. I mean, you wouldn't leave soldiers in the bush for overnight when such an accident happens, when they have intelligence that something may happen. So they quickly moved the bodies. And then let us also understand that before the bodies arrived in Accra, they were in proper coffins. And I think that point should also be made.
Thank you very much, Dr. Richmond Afuakwa, Senior Lecturer at the Forensic Sciences, University of Cape Coast.
Meanwhile, our government has received the green light to collaborate with international agencies and experts in investigating the deadly Z9 helicopter crash that claimed 8 lives, including 2 cabinet ministers in the Ashanti region. Well, Deputy Defense Minister Bruja Jemfi assured that the high-powered board of inquiry, working alongside top global crash investigators, will leave no stone unturned in unraveling the circumstances surrounding the tragic incident.
We also want to assure you that the Ghana Armed Forces have already begun investigations into the incident. We have made requests for international collaboration, and we have received positive response in that regard. And so we want to assure you, our chiefs, that nothing will be covered. It will be transparent, and the public, Ghanaian public, will know exactly what happened and the cause of this tragic accident. We also want to caution the media and some analysts who have been churning out misinformation and untruths about this whole incident. All I want to say is that Ghanaians should trust that the ministry and the Ghana Armed Forces are going to be diligent in the investigations and transparent about it, and whatever was the cause will be known to the people of Ghana, and we will take some lessons out of that.
Well, Senior Lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, Dr. Victor Doke, says the Armed Forces' request for international expertise in the Z9 helicopter crash investigations should be seen as a boost, not a dent, to Ghana's capabilities.
In this case, now what I see, in my opinion, is that the investigations with regards to collaboration with international agencies will bring some sort of an enhanced process. Now, it doesn't mean that we do not have the capacity to do that. There may be some challenges with regards to equipment to ascertain or to verify, to do a forensic analysis, which is not available. But that does not mean we cannot seek for international assistance. Seeking international assistance also would enable some level of high secrecy, okay? The process will be kept in secrecy because we know that everything with regards to this crash has to be kept in secrecy until the final results come out. And even what will come out to the domain will not likely be the full report, but only some section of the reports that will come out.
Well, meanwhile, aviation professor Daniel Kwesi Ajakum has been given details of what the international investigators will be looking into.
So, yes, we would love to be able to analyze the field wreckage, to be able to identify capture marks, to be able to identify the energy dynamics at the time of impact, and missing components of the aircraft. It's not the ideal, but at least from what we have now in terms of recovering the flight data recorders and the cockpit voice recorders, we should be able to get the original equipment manufacturer and maybe an accredited lab to be able to have the hardware and the software to be able to extract the data. And then we'll look at some of the performance parameters in terms of the airspeed. We'll look at the altitude. We'll look at the engine performance. And all of them will be sort of, normally we do performance graphs, and we'll be able to identify areas of discrepancy. And it's not only the flight data recorder that is going to tell investigators, give them an idea of some of the causal and contributive factors. Remember, we are also sequestering the maintenance record of the aircraft. We are going to look at the air crew, their personal data in terms of their medical records, their training records, their level of certification. We'll look at what we call fitness for duty. So within the last 3 days prior to the flight, 1 month prior to the flight, how many hours are they flown? We are looking at things like fatigue. We are looking at things like the human factors. I mean, trying to understand what was going on in the minds of the flight crew. We are looking at air traffic control data, okay, the communication between the crew and air traffic control, radar surveillance data. So you see the amount of data that investigators will be collecting. That all would be triangulated. And of course, the FDR gives you factual data, but you also triangulate it with all these other data to build a holistic picture, which then gives the investigators, we call it findings. So we'll come up with the findings, and then based on that, we build probable hypotheses as to why and how this happened.
Okay.
Let's go onto the telephone lines now and speak to Parliament's Vice Chairman on the Defence and Interior Committee, Peter Tobu. Thank you very much for your time this evening. We know that government has confirmed the involvement of international agencies who are helping with investigators. But as a member and, of course, a leader in the Defence and Interior Committee, are you privy to the institutions that are offering this help?
Thank you very much. Good evening to you, Kenneth. Good evening to Pearl. Good evening to our cherished viewers and listeners. It is under a very heavy cloud that we will continue to brace up to speak as we continue to convey our condolences to the bereaved families. But we believe that the vision for which they stood for, we will pick up the pieces, run with it, and make sure that Ghana will learn from the past, learn from the present, and be able to project a better future so that at least collectively we will have a better Ghana. As a member of the Defense and Interior Committee, finally becoming the Vice Chairman of recent, I think that all we do at the committee level is to play oversight. And I'm excited listening to the Chief of Defense Staff. You see, it was okay for him to stop at the point when he said, we took a technical decision to do what we did and improvise for body bags. Because if you understand the system in Ghana, over the years, when we talk about bodies are cold bodies. And all the bodyguards that we've ever imported are targeted at collecting cold bodies. Nobody ever thinks about collecting a body with a level of temperature temperature that the body bag cannot resist. So we don't have heat-resistant body bags. The technical decision to move the bodies at that material moment, though as we see as inappropriate, was good enough. And it was good for the Chief of Defense Staff to stop at that technical decision level, not going too much into detail, because as we engage foreign experts to support that, which is not new, because the FDR, in other words, the flight data recorder, or the CVR, the cockpit voice recorder, all these things for you to decode and get information to guide your investigation require some level of foreign expertise. So it is even a standard practice to get global organizations that have expertise in these matters to collaborate with government for us to delve deeper into this incident, so that at least when we come out with the report from the BOI, at least it will guide us as a country. I believe that as the Vice Chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee, we will be quiet and we believe and trust in the process. We've already issued a statement saying that we are interested in the outcome, and I'm quite sure that when we get to the point, we'll be giving briefing. But we don't do micromanagement at all.
There are persons who are saying that this report, when it comes out, it should be made public. Do you support that?
The report will be made public on the need-to-know basis. These are security matters. If the publicity of the report will enhance the image of this country and enhance our potential to prevent accident, why not? But if there are certain things that we don't need to make it public as matters of security, just like he said, at the point that we decided to carry the bodies in bags that probably were so inappropriate, it was a technical decision. And that tactical approach is not something that we will be willing to explain too much. Let it be the decision of the ministry, a decision of government, to make what is necessary as public to the public and make what is unnecessary unpublic.
Peter Tobu, thank you very much. He's the Vice Chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee in Parliament there.
Now let's bring you more on the helicopter crash. And Ghana has, since a week ago, been thrown into a state of mourning after the country was greeted by the sudden passing of 8 of its citizens, including 2 cabinet ministers who died tragically in that helicopter crash. Now, Defense Minister Dr. Edward Omani-Boama and Environment Minister Murtala Mohammed and 6 others were crushed to death while on their way to Obuasi for the launch of the Responsible Cooperative Mining Program. Now, Emmanuel Bright Kweku catalogues events so far following the demise of Ghana's fallen heroes.
On that note, the Responsible Cooperative Mining has
supposed to be a normal day in Ghana with its citizens going about their daily duties. The government was ready in itself to launch one of its flagship programs, the Responsible Cooperative Mining and Skills Development Program in Obuasi, with various dignitaries in attendance. But only 12 hours into the day, the news broke.
Medicine nananom se miye na ma humi a ye na emergency bi ma ha eso no ye kone ye ba etimi MC fo ni bi ni commanders ni bi ye betu na ya kwakọ handle sa emergency ni kakra minister sa aka wa chire no mbere na adwumadi ni bi aka ni na no ma hwe no ma hwehwe e dia ma.
The Ghana Armed Forces announced a helicopter en route to the event from Accra had gone missing from its radar. Aboard the aircraft were dignitaries expected to grace the event.
Of a military helicopter this morning around the Adansi area in Ashanti.
Shortly after the announcement, the Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, confirmed the demise of the 8 passengers on board the helicopter.
Dr. Edward Kofi Omani-Boama, Minister for Defense. Alhaji Dr. Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, MP, Minister for Environment, Science and Technology. Alhaji Muniru Mohammed Lemonad, Acting Deputy National Security Coordinator and former Minister for Food and Agriculture. Dr. Samuel Sapon, Vice Chairman of the National Democratic Congress. And Mr. Samuel Abuaji, a former parliamentary candidate. Squadron Leader Peter Bafemi Anala, Flying Officer Manin Chum Ampedu, and Sergeant Ernest Ado Mensah. The President and government extends our condolences and sympathies to the families of our comrades and the servicemen who died in service to the country. All flags are to fly at half-mast until further notice.
Into a state of mourning. Ghana had lost 8 of its gallant men. The aircraft they were on board had crashed into the deep forest of Dampia Range in Sikaman Bofuyedru in the Adansi district of the Ashanti region. Because the helicopter was closer to the ground, I looked at it cautiously. At a few seconds, I heard a loud noise and I reckoned it could be the helicopter. I rushed to the scene and called out for people to tend to the incident. Emergency service providers, together with some government officials, led by the Ashanti Regional Minister, rushed to the scene in frantic efforts to retrieve the bodies of the 8 which were burnt beyond recognition. But the journey to the scene did not come easy. The team trekked for hours, navigating the deep forest and meandering through the slippery and slender routes. After at least 2 hours of walking, the charred remains were retrieved from the helicopter wreckage and were airlifted to the national capital, Accra.
That's Emmanuel Bright Kweku's report there. Meanwhile, residents of Adansi Akrofrom in the Ashanti region sought to honor the memory of the victims by playing solemn music in tribute to the departed. However, military personnel stationed in the area stopped the activity, reportedly to preserve the official atmosphere of mourning and ensure compliance with directives for the national period of grief. Listen to the residents.
No leader has come to address us after what happened in this town, so we, the young men here, decided to gather and play music in memory of the departed souls. Then the military came to stop us. We are pained.
I
just don't know what to do or say. It's so unfortunate. We all heard the plane crash, and my husband rushed there and saw the victims burning to ashes. So we are doing this in their memory. We are truly saddened.
Oh, said they work on paper, and then now said the actually to say Ghana mine, a Ghana mine. Now, Anka, and then I'm to say, and then or maybe because they share in Penny.
It's been a week since this tragedy befell the country. Our elders promised to do something in their honor. So today we decided to play music in their memory. But the military men came to stop us. We spent a lot of money to rent the instruments. And now it has been stopped. We have run at a loss.
Now let's move on to some other stories. And government is facing renewed criticism over its plan to assess the credibility of religious prophecies, with Cardinal Turkson weighing in on the debate. The Cardinal, Chancellor of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences and Social Sciences, cautions that any review process must be handled with extreme care due to the complexity and potential contentiousness of identifying and verifying prophecies and their proponents.
Well, critics argue that the government's plan raises deeper concerns about truth and transparency, potentially infringing on freedom of belief. Cardinal Turkson highlights the intricacies involved in evaluating religious prophecies, emphasizing the need for sensitivity and caution.
Who is credible? How do we determine that? What is the criteria for a credible prophet? It leaves a lot of questions that need to be answered. But in any case, wherever prophecies occur, and God making His knowledge known to you, you consider the content of that message, and if it requires some intercession, please do that now before you even seek to communicate that to anybody. What I have learned in these, I don't know how many years, at least 50 years of being a priest and all of that in this regard, and we're dealing with some such experiences. I think prophecies as a communication of divine knowledge to humans, first and foremost, makes you privy of God's thoughts and whatever. And for me, the first consequence is to speak with God himself, especially if the content of the privacy is about disaster or evil or something that may befall.
Two other stories, and the Greater Accra Regional House of Chiefs is calling on the government to take a holistic approach to combating illegal mining in the country in honor of the victims of last week's Z9 helicopter crash. Speaking during a visit to the Defense Ministry, the president of the Greater Accra Regional House of Chiefs, Nungwa Manche, Kin Professor Udaifio Walenchi III, says the deaths of the individuals should not be in vain.
If what we heard is true, that they are in the line of their duty, then somebody may ask, what kind of duty that caused them? Illegal mining, aka Galamsey. This is what has cost their life. If we cannot do anything about this holistically, once and for all, that will stop this thing, then these gallant men have died for nothing. This country should rise up and do whatever possible to stop this Galamsey in this country. Look at the number of years it takes for somebody to become a defense minister. The training alone. I don't know how many men we have.
Well, the Greater Accra Regional House of Chiefs then proceeded to the national headquarters of the governing National Democratic Congress with the same message. In response, the national chairman of the party, Johnson Esiedun-Ketia, said it is important to draw on traditional customs as a guide in the fight against illegal mining.
We know that even before the advent of colonization and the coming into this land, the white man, we had our culture, we had our religion. Part of our culture gives regulations as to how our environment ought to be protected. In Ghanland here, I know on Tuesdays you don't go to sea. This is not contained in any law, but it is a tradition that has been handed over the centuries, and it has been respected. When you go to our forest regions, there are places which are traditional forest reserve. Nobody dared to enter any traditional forest reserve. And as traditional leaders, our water bodies were no-go areas on certain times and certain periods and under certain conditions. What has happened? So this is a time for reflection over our lives as a country, Ghana, and to see how we can make things better.
Johnson Esiedun-Ketia is the national chairman of the NDC. It's now time for business, and George Riafe is here with the latest. George, what do you have for us?
Well, coming up, banks and other financial institutions should not have their non-performing loans exceed 10% by the end of next year as part of new regulatory measures. And the Bank of Ghana, Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama, is urging commercial banks to respond to current economic development and also review their lending rate. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials, Sinter Tanks and Pepsodent, Herbal and Charcoal. Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, the Bank of Ghana has taken additional measures to deal with high non-performing loans in banks and other financial institutions in the country. There is more on these directives in the following report.
The Bank of Ghana in the notice argued that the action is aimed at dealing with increasing risks to industry's profitability, liquidity and solvency, as well as threats to the stability of the entire financial system. It also re-emphasized that these measures will be in addition to existing prudential guidance as well as best international practices for managing credit risk. The measures will push all these institutions to maintain a robust credit risk management framework and ensure that all their processes are in line with the new measures. Based on this new directive, banks and other financial institutions are expected to adequately manage credit granting functions. All these financial institutions have up to end of December next year to fully comply. According to the latest economic and financial data, total industry non-performing loans has reached about 20%.
And that is a Business Desk report. In a related development, the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, is asking commercial banks to respond to the current economic development as well as the recent cut in the policy rate. James Ishen has the rest of the story.
The central bank governor at the meeting challenged the banks to channel more credit into productive sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, and infrastructure development, which have the potential to accelerate job creation and improve the economy at large.
Your tasks as leaders of the sector is to translate stability into growth, to channel more credit into productive enterprises, to support SMEs, to finance critical infrastructure, and leverage digital innovations to reach undeserved markets.
He also said the Bank of Ghana plans to engage the Ghana Association of Banks in the coming days to address concerns surrounding forward foreign exchange auctions and market liquidity.
At the same time, we will engage the Ghana Association of Banks in a structured discussion on proposals, some of which they have shared with us, relating to NOP support, relating to FX forward auctions, remittance coordination, and market liquidity, and all these with the aim of agreeing on practical, market-friendly solutions.
Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, also said the central bank will soon be rolling out some new measures targeted at strengthening banks in the country. The move, according to him, will target the credit risk, liquidity, and reserve requirement for commercial banks in the country.
We will begin with credit and risk governance. Direction: all banks will be required to identify and take firm action against deliberate defaulters to ensure that credit obligations are honored.
The meeting formed part of the central bank's ongoing engagement with the industry stakeholders to align policy objectives with private sector participation in economic development.
And James Ishen put together the report after attending a meeting between the Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama and managing directors of commercial banks at the Bank of Ghana earlier today. Still on this development, the head of finance at Merban Capital, Nelson Kojo-Kwaboji, has been responding to the new non-performing loans directive as well as the charge to the commercial banks to reduce their lending rate.
The non-performing loans in Ghana within the banking sector is way above 20%. And when you are a country and your banking sector has a non-performing loans more than 20%, then it means that there is a serious problem within the banking system. And so what the Bank of Ghana intend doing is to make sure that, credit risk and governance regimes are structured in such a way that we will cut down significantly on non-performing loans. In fact, the governor made mention of the fact that the policy rate itself is not the only factor that the banks take into consideration when they are fixing their pricing for credit facilities. They also take into consideration other factors. Now, one of the factors that they take into consideration is the reference rate. Now, the reference rate has been reduced to 19.6%. The banks, they are in business, and so the expectation is that they also add a margin. And so in the coming day, don't forget that the banks, they have also mobilized their loans at a very high cost. And so they cannot just cut down on their lending rate just like that. They need a time to readjust their portfolio.
Head of Finance at Merban Capital, Nelson Kojo-Kwaboji. Now, the Minister for Labour, Jobs and Employment, Dr. Abdul Rashid Pelpo, has cautioned that the gap between academia and industry will persist unless students actually take some steps to deal with training being restructured to meet industry demand. Dr. Pelpo made these remarks at the 2025 Global Conference on Human Resources in Africa held in collaboration with the Society for Human Resource Management.
We need to close it by the kind of training we give to students from class 1 up to the university levels. We need to improve the kind of training we give. Our government is working very hard to close it. We are improving TVET skills. We are improving educational skills at all levels. We are even taxing workers themselves right now to have more skills, to beef up their skills, to give them more confidence that, look, in putting up, in training yourself to reach a certain level, is going to add more to your value than your existing situation. So it is a policy now, and we're working towards it.
Minister for Labour, Jobs and Employment, Dr. Abdul Rashid Pelpo. Now, alcoholic and beverage manufacturing firm Casapreco has emphasized its commitment to impacting positively on societies and the environment in which it operates with its actions. The firm highlighted this commitment when a sum of 300,000 Ghana cedis was presented to the cardiovascular unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital in Accra today. The initiative is part of the company's Awake One for Life donation initiative. Let's hear from Linda Edu. She's the marketing manager for Casapreco.
As a business, people matter over profit. So in our earlier submission, you realize that we mentioned that when we're starting the brand Awake Purified Drinking Water, we started it with consideration to helping Ghanaians living with various vascular diseases. So at Casapreco, being a fully owned Ghanaian company, we want to give back to the same Ghanaians who've kept us in business since 1979. This shows that as a business, we also prioritize human beings over whatever profits we are making. So this is just one of the many things we do. I mean, with this brand, we are focused on giving back to people with cardiovascular disease. We also go to towns without access to potable drinking water. We drill boreholes, and we also have a tree planting initiative all centered around this One for Life. One for Life meaning that every Ghanaian is entitled to quality life.
Linda Edu is the marketing manager at Casapreco. The program also funds borehole projects, tree planting and other community projects across the country. On the stock market, MTN is still posting some good returns for its shareholders. Now, the share price of which MTN was up by 3 pesos to close at 3 Ghana cedis 98 pesos. GCB was up by 3 pesos to close at 9 Ghana cedis 57 pesos. FAMOG was also up marginally to close at 4 Ghana cedis 41 pesos. If you have invested on the market from the beginning of the year to now, you made a return of more than 50%. Now, this is far more than other investment assets currently on the market. And that's all for business on Newsnight. Let's do sports. And Daniel Kranteng is around.
Yeah, now Ghanaians have expressed mixed reaction over the GFA's landmark decision to extend the presidential term limit. The Football Association yesterday voted to increase the presidential term limit for the GFA presidency from 2 to 3 terms. Joy Sports took to the streets to speak their views on football fans on the issue.
And for Kofi Adams, I don't know what transpired because he's been a critic of Keto Kweku when he was in opposition. So I don't understand why you allow a Congress in which journalists will not be allowed into the premises. And now you are telling us, Keto Kweku is telling us that, okay, support our own.
I don't want to talk much about him. Whatever you want to do, you should do.
So, for my option, is good.
So, Keto Kweku should go for 12 years?
Yes.
Why?
Oh, he's taking Ghana football far. The government cannot involve himself unless election, when Okreku can be removed. I would like it. As for Okreku, I don't even like him properly. It doesn't have to do with the government. Me, I will take my blame to the government.
Now, Ghana's Mohamed Kudus is in the starting lineup for Europa League winners Tottenham Hotspur, who take on UEFA Champions League winners PSG in the UEFA Super Cup at 7 p.m. tonight. It is the first opportunity for Kudus to win silverware with his new team since joining last month from West Ham United. Tottenham Hotspur, they start with Vicario in post, Danso, Romero, Van de Ven, Esporo, Bentancur, Paulinia, Sarr, Spence, Richarlison and Mohamed Kudus for the UEFA Champions League holders PSG. They start with their new goalkeeper Chevalier in post. There's Hakimi, Marquinhos, Paco Mendes, Zaire Emery, Vitinha, Doué, Barcola, Kvaratskhelia and Ballon d'Or favourite Ousmane Dembele. Bring that into sports. Back to you guys.
Well, thank you very much, Daniel, for bringing us the latest in sports. Let's do some politics now, as former Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia has expressed his readiness to lead the MPP as its presidential candidate after he said 490 youth organizers of the party picked nomination forms on his behalf. Speaking at his campaign office after accepting the nomination forms from the party executives, the 2024 flagbearer of the MPP said the gesture showed the remarkable vote of confidence reposed in him by the party's youth wing.
I want to say that I am minded to contest for the flagbearership of the new patriotic party. But let us say that I want this flag bearership election to be conducted with decorum. We are not in a campaign of insults, and we should not be in a campaign of insults. It should be about ideas, and that is what will capture the imagination of Ghanaians. What ideas do we have? What are we bringing to the table? How are we going to solve problems that Ghanaians face? As a party, I admonish everybody, all the aspirants and our supporters, that let us focus on marketing or selling our respective candidates. When we bring down other people, we are bringing down the MPP. Our messages will be taken by our opponents and used against us. I will not, and you will never hear me insulting any candidate.
You hear that the 2024 flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Bawumia, the party's youth organizer for Kankoi Central, Isaac Obeng, who spoke on behalf of his colleague organizers after picking the form, said based on his track record, Dr. Bawumia is the best candidate to lead the party into the 2028 general elections.
At this critical moment in our governance as a country, looking at what has happened over the 7-month period, the only savior that can restore the 36,000 people that have been sacked, youth that has been sacked, is Dr. Alhaji Mahmood Bawumia. The only leader we see as a unifier is Dr. Alhaji Mahmood Bawumia. The only one that we believe that is credible and have no iota of corruption that can be associated with him is Dr. Alhaji Mahmood Bawumia. The only person that has gathered the experience over the years from 2008 till now as a former vice presidential candidate and later becoming the former vice president of the Republic of Ghana is Dr. Alhaji Mahmood Bawumia.
You heard there the youth organizer of Okaikwe South of the New Patriotic Party, Isaac Obeng there. Let's get onto the telephone lines right now and speak to the camp of Mahmood Bawumia and Kennedy Japan, two of the leading potential candidates of the New Patriotic Party. Gentlemen, let me start with you, Kwesi Kwatin. He is the spokesperson for Kennedy Japan. Thank you very much. We also have Anthony Abei-Fakabo, who is a senior political advisor to Dr. Mahmood Bawumia. Mr. Kwatin, let me start with you. There have been criticism, social media criticism, that the battle for the grassroots has now been drawn, looking at the fact that such a whopping number of youth organizers, the base of the party, went out to support Bawumia and indeed picked nomination forms for him. Are you scared? Is the camp of Kennedy Japan scared? Hello, Mr. Kwatin. Unfortunately, we've lost him there, but we still have Anthony Abei-Fakabo, who is the senior political advisor to Dr. Mahmood Bawumia. Mr. Kabo, people are saying that what happened today was a mere charade. You're just parading people, deliberately giving them money to pick forms for it to look as though Dr. Mahmood Bawumia has the grassroots. Is that really the case?
Yeah, thank you very much, Evans. Most grateful for this opportunity. We have picked forms, actually received the forms from the youth organizers who had contacted our office a few weeks back and indicated that because of the nature of the campaign and the way His Excellency had worked very closely with the youth wing of the party, they would like to take up this exercise, to pick up the form, and that's exactly what happened. As for the interpretations and the twists and turns, I don't think we will be invited into that conversation. We're sticking to our candidate. Our candidate has shown, both to the country and to the party, that he's a formidable candidate. And for me, the takeaway in all of this is admonishment to the young people that our exercise must be devoid of insults, attacks,
and any type of invectives that has a tendency to bring the name of the party into disrepute and also give our opponents cannon fodder for the elections ahead of us. I think that call is critical at this point.
Questions have been raised about the exact number of youth organizers who mobilized fans to pick the nomination forms for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. You put a number at 490. People are really questioning that number. Clarify for us, is it indeed 490 people?
I think that the youth organizers themselves spoke to the matter. We were the receiving end. And so maybe a call-up with the young man who spoke on behalf of the youth will be able to ascertain these numbers you're talking about. But I want to believe that we have a huge body of young people in the party, particularly our youth organizers, women organizers, secretaries, right through the structure of the party, who support His Excellency. They have supported his bid. They worked with him throughout from 2008. And don't forget, this is the candidate who has traversed the country in 5 separate elections. It's a very, very marketable candidate, somebody who is known in the nooks and crannies of this country. And let's not forget that to become a flag bearer and a potential president for any political party, high name recognition is an important tool or a better variable for anybody to propel or railroad himself into the presidency.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Abeifa Kabo is a senior political advisor to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. That brings us to the end of Newsnight tonight. My name is Kenneth Jesse.
My name is Pelo Furi.
But right after this, we have Enimwa who will be joining us with Strong and Sassy. And Enimwa, just like the whole of the country, I can see that you are mourning, but what are we discussing tonight?
So, last 2 weeks was our last show, and we were talking about content creation. And today we want to talk about how, people take intimate family moments and turn them into, content, really. How to manage that, what that should look like, how to keep your family safe, and all of that. So that's what we're talking about, keeping content creation safe when it involves your family.
Yeah, I've seen one. I saw one recently where a family moved to a hotel, and then the husband booked for 2 rooms, one for the children and then another for he and the wife, and then the wife wanted to sleep in the children's room, and that looked like a family skit. So I think today's conversation is really going to be interesting.
And obviously also the safety issues that come with putting out some sorts of information. So anyway, stay tuned in. That's Strong and Sassy coming up next.
Yes, can't wait.